You just felt that, didn't you? Not just heard it. I'm talking about feeling it. Somewhere between your chest and your stomach, that specific thing that happens when a sound, right? It reaches back into your nervous system and finds something that's been sitting there untouched for about 25 years. Because that sound, that beautiful, horrible robots arguing in a blender type of sound, well, that was the sound of the world just completely opening up and cracking open for you. You see, it's somewhere between 1996 and 1999. You're in your computer room because, by the way, there was a computer room, an entire room in your house or apartment organized around one of these old beige towers and a monitor the size of a small appliance and probably just as heavy. You've just done something bold, by the way. You did. At that time, at that period, you have picked up the phone line. Going fast for you here because there's a lot to unpack, okay? And we're talking about the only phone line in the house, the whole family's phone line, the one your mom is expecting a call on. And you've given it, that specific phone line, you've connected it to the back of your computer. Or maybe back then you had an external modem with the little switches that you had to kind of set up to make sure you got everything the right way. And now you're sitting there in the glow of that screen while the modem does its thing, praying or crackling and whatever that sound was, right? That it connects, between your phone line and the World Wide Web, right? But in between all this, you pray that the minute it connects, right, someone doesn't go and pick up the phone in another room and says the 9 words that defined an entire era in my childhood, maybe yours too if you're listening. Someone screaming across the house, "Get off the internet, I need to use the phone." Yeah. Yes. For any of you youngins out there, the internet back then came on a CD. It did. And you have to hook up your phone line, your actual telephone phone line to the computer. And the entire internet was on a CD with 50 free hours. But let's talk about right now, this moment. Okay. Let's talk about that let's talk about the fact that maybe no one picked up the phone line, right, while you were trying to get on, right? The phone stayed on the hook. The modem finished its negotiation, its weird sound and crackling robotic craziness that's happening behind the computer. And then it loads, right? The screen loads up for you. And you hear it because everyone had this. Everyone had it. You hear that all familiar, "Welcome. You've got mail." Man, if that doesn't send chills down your spine. And just like that, you were online, inside something that nobody fully understood yet. Not you, not your parents, and not even the people who built it. Okay? The early internet, the wild, weird, genuinely open internet in the early days was crazy. Okay? Today, though, in today's episode, we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back in. We're gonna go into that era. We're gonna take it all the way back to the America Online days. All right? Welcome to In Case I Missed It 90s edition. It's been a while. Let's sign on. Let's get the hell going on here. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to In Case I Missed It. I am your host. If you've forgotten, I'm Alex. It is Saturday morning. I hope you grabbed your cereal. You already know how all of this goes if you've listened to the past episodes. Quick recap on the last episode, which was more than a month ago. We did the 90s New York sports episode, the Knicks going back-to-back finals in 94, 99. The Yankees dynasty. Well, that's not really back-to-back, but you know what I mean. The Rangers ending 54 years of the Stanley Cup heartbreak, and the games we played in the streets, wiffle ball, handball, pickup basketball, man, beating each other up in the courts, arguments, everything just happening under the sun. That episode hit for a lot of people, especially, since a lot of people in the tri-state were, celebrating the Knicks' victory. So they were fresh off winning all of it, right? The entire thing, becoming champions. If you haven't yet, go back and listen. I think it's a good one, but that's just me. But today we're going to go inside. Today we're going inside. Okay, we're not going out there in the heat. Off the court, off the block, into the house, into the computer room. All right, and into something that none of us fully knew we were walking into. Let's talk about the early internet, those days of the early internet. Dial-up, AOL, chat rooms, AIM, GeoCities, Napster, whatever you had. Screen names, away messages, ASL. Okay? If you remember what that was, man, drop it. Drop it in the comments or in the reviews. Okay? If you lived through that era. Okay? The first time most of America went online and had absolutely no idea what they were starting. Okay? They really didn't. No one knew what the hell they were getting themselves into. And I also want to say up front, we have a brand new segment today, something I'm adding to the show permanently, starting right now. Okay. At the end of every episode, and I should say like right now, like today, after our Did You Know, I want to do a top 5 list. Something fun that we can interact with. The top 5 best, worst, most iconic, most ridiculous, most nostalgic things related to whatever we are talking about on this episode, on this show. But today's list, the top 5 early internet experiences that every 90s kid had and will probably never forget. All right. And we're going to get to those. I'm going to give you my list, and I want to hear your list in the comments because I already know there are going to be strong opinions, and I'm here for all of them because we all lived through the same era if you're listening to this, but we all experienced it differently, even though we were experiencing the same things. So, yeah, man, let's get right to it. Let me start by painting what life looked like before the internet showed up in your house, all right? Because I think a lot of people have forgotten. If you wanted to talk to a friend, by the way, you would pick up a phone and you would call their house, all right? Whoever picked up, well, they picked up. All right. Maybe it was your friend. Maybe it was their dad. Maybe it was their mom, their sister, whomever. Maybe it's a busy signal because the older sister had been on the phone for 2.5 hours and there's literally nothing that you can do about it. So you hung up the damn phone and you waited. You maybe called back. That was the system that was put forth in front of us. If you wanted to know something, you had to know someone who knew it. Or you would find an encyclopedia, or go to the library with a card, actual physical cards in a little wooden drawers. You remember those? Do you have to look through them? You flip through you with your fingers every now and then to find information. What about music? If you wanted music, you bought it or you recorded it off the radio. Sitting there with your finger on the goddamn record button, waiting for your song to come on, while some damn DJ talked about everything else in the world. And then finally your song starts and you hit record and you get maybe 30 seconds in before once again the damn DJ talks over the damn music. Every time without fail, by the way, the DJ always messed up that damn recording you were trying to get. But it was his sacred duty apparently to make sure his voice was in everyone's recordings. That was pretty much, in a nutshell, the world that we lived in. And then something started showing up in the mail. All right. We got this CD. It was even in cereal boxes. And this thing was a free AOL CD. On it, printed big bold letters, 50 free hours, and then 100 free hours, then 500 free hours. And then I need you to understand, this actually happened. There was one that said 1,025 free hours. You don't believe me? 1,025. That's a very specific number. I never really understood why the hell they did it like that. Okay, I still don't. The mystery is better than any explanation, to be completely honest. And these CDs, well, they were everywhere in the mail, like I mentioned before, in magazines, taped to cereal boxes at the grocery store checkout, falling out of things that had nothing to do with the internet. Literally, like if, uh, wherever you could think you could find an AOL CD, you were finding it. At the peak of this campaign, AOL was producing so many CDs that roughly half of the discs being manufactured on Earth were all AOL trial discs. Think about that. Think about how crazy that sounds. Okay. People use them as coasters. People use them as frisbees. Some people microwave them, which made them look incredible and was extremely not recommended. But this was the 90s, and we were conducting unsupervised science projects. And yeah, that's just the way we lived. And eventually, in basically every house in America, somebody had one of those CDs and said, should I just try it? I mean, a lot of us had them. I mean, we would have the little, you would stack up your CDRs, little thing, round, spinny thing, and you would just, I had so many in there. Okay. And then came the night you finally installed America Online. People put the CD in the tray, the installer ran, the phone cord got connected from the wall jack to the computer. In some houses, that cord ran across the entire damn house, okay? Like a tripwire that everyone just learned to step over for years and years to come, right? And then you had to figure out your screen name. Choosing your first screen name was one of the most important creative decisions of your life. Nobody treated it that way. Okay. But it really was. It's your first screen. Do you even remember your first screen name? Because I do. It was a family screen name, actually. It was the first initials of all of us in the house. My parents created it. And I don't even remember what mine was, but I do remember it was Magical, everyone in the family. First two letters of every name. I don't know why we did that, but that's why I was Magical for many, many years. And it was, no one asked what the hell it was. It was just, hey, Magic, what's up? There was no guidance, no counsel, no focus group, man. You just created whatever it was, right? Just you, a blinking cursor, and the question of who are you online? And the same answers people came up with, right? Or should I say, and the answers people came up with. They weren't all the same. Maybe sometimes they were the same. All right. But it was always one of three approaches. First, the safe route. Your name plus a sport or hobby plus some numbers, right? For instance, like, all right, whatever, Hoops Guy 44. For me, it was Magical, no numbers. The numbers were just like your birthday or your jersey or whatever AOL offered when your first 15 choices were pretty much already taken. Second, you were probably trying to be super cool. And this is where the capital X's came in, like lowercase x, capital X, Dark Wolf, capital X, lowercase x. Remember that? Or Shadow Hunter, XXX, whatever. Some of you were literally 11 years old with screen names that sounded like anime villains. And honestly, mad respect because you committed to it. And third, complete chaos, right? You just didn't give a crap. I don't know, Fluffy Rocket 69 or whatever, Cheese Dog 42 or Dumbass 27. Something you typed at probably 10:30 p.m. on a Thursday that became your entire digital identity for the next decade that you were on AOL. And here's my genuine opinion. The chaos names were always the most interesting people. Absolutely every single time. The data supports this. The data is my own memory, by the way, but it absolutely supports it from a lot of the people that I met online. A lot of people you shouldn't be talking to, by the way, back in the day, but we're going to get into that. Let's talk about the chat rooms. All right. Because you probably found yourself in the chat rooms. That was the coolest thing about AOL. An AOL chat room was a digital room with a topic on the door. whether it was sports, music, movies, teens, random, or just some city or some vibe or whatever. You clicked in and there were 20, 30 strangers all typing at the same time, text scrolling up the screen, 6 conversations happening simultaneously. Beautiful chaos. Beautiful chaos. Some of you had punters. If you can remember what a punter is, it's where you can like kind of like how to explain this? It was kind of like these things that you can create huge texts or even kick people offline. Punters. It was like the game genie for AOL. All right. By the way, and the very first thing anyone said to anyone in a chat room, the opening handshake of the entire early internet was 3 letters. We spoke about it earlier. We're going to get to talk about it right now. It was the infamous ASL. Age/sex/location. That was it. That was the whole social infrastructure. 3 pieces of information that were supposed to tell you who you were talking to. Okay. At that time, maybe you're 14, 16, I don't know, 10, 11. I don't know who the hell was letting you go online and talk to strangers that young. And look, let's be real for a second. Some of those responses were accurate and some of them were not. Okay. The early internet had no verification system, none whatsoever. You could say literally anything and some people pretty much did. We were kids unsupervised in rooms with strangers, and the safety conversations that exist today exist specifically because our generation went through that without any guardrails. Worth saying out loud and worth remembering. But here's what I want you to feel about those chat rooms underneath all of that. For a kid who was into something that nobody else on their block cared about, maybe it was a band, a show, a hobby, whatever, something that made you the weird one, the chat room was the first time in human history you could find your people regardless of where you lived. You didn't have to be near them. You didn't have to know them first. You just clicked into the damn room and there they were. All right. That was genuinely all new back then. That had never existed before. And for a lot of kids, it changed everything. And then things progressed. Right? Then we had AIM. AIM arrived and leveled everything up. AOL Instant Messenger, the buddy list, your actual people, your real friends, your crush, your cousin in another state, all in one place. And when someone signed on, you would hear that sound. Your head snapped to the screen every single time, automatically, by the way. You would ask yourself, who is it? And if it was that person you liked, the next 20 minutes were a psychological thriller. You can't message them the second they sign on, right? That's desperate. They'll know that you are watching. So you kind of wait. 4 minutes, 7 minutes, 12 minutes, an actual eternity. And then you type your opener. Something chill, something smooth, something casual, something you have rewritten multiple times. But instead of writing your amazing opener, you start off with something easy like, hey, that was it. That was pretty much what we came down to. Okay. We were all writers back then, by the way, editors, perfecters of the craft of trying to figure out what was the best way to say something or away message. And let's talk about away messages. Jesus. The away messages. The away message was the original social media status. The first tweet, the first story, years before, any of this existed. We were crafting little public broadcasts about our feelings and our lives in a text box below our damn screen name. Okay. There was informational, right? There was the informational, like when you would write something at practice, be back here, at the movies, went out, blah, blah, blah. You would always leave something. right? Whether it was a song lyric and the song lyric was an art form. You pick lyrics that express your real feelings, the ones you couldn't say out loud, and you put them in your away message, and you desperately hoped that the specific person you were thinking about would see it. And no. Millions of people deployed this strategy, man. The success rate was approximately 0%. But a lot of people kept doing it for years, right? There was the mysterious out, just out where, with who, doing what. That was the point. You were generating mystery. You were creating intrigue. You were probably at dinner with your family, but online, you were somewhere. And then the passive aggressive masterpiece, the away message aimed directly at one person after you got into an argument or fight. No name, didn't even need one. Some people need to learn what real friendship is. That's it. That's your away message. Okay? The whole buddy list knew. Everyone knew. We invented the subtweet on AIM. We never, though, got credit for that. And some of us, by the way, back in the early days, went even further, right, in what we were already doing from chat rooms and talking. Some of us actually built websites. Do you guys remember that? Coding actual websites. You guys remember GeoCities? You know, anyone out there? The ability to build your own personal page on the internet for free. And what we built with that, honestly, a lot of websites with a lot of glitter and stickers and whatnot. A background image that made the text impossible to read. I don't know if you guys remember this. Text in a color that actively fought the background. Whether you pick like a blue background and you use red text. A visitor count at the bottom of every website. Okay. Every single time. All right. An under construction GIF. Always an under construction GIF, by the way. The little animated construction worker with a little shovel perpetually digging. Every GeoCities page was under construction, by the way. The whole internet was under construction for years and years to come. And though that's the one thing that kind of gets everybody, right? It was just the fact that things were finding a way, right? The one that's going to get everyone, though, I think, is whenever you went into a website and you had those auto-playing MIDI music sounds or music itself. You click onto someone's page and a tiny, slightly off instrumental version of Backstreet Boys song would just immediately start playing. No warning, no volume control you could find. Just music. Arriving. Loud. While you try to read someone's top 10 favorite movies list in yellow text on a black background that also had stars animated all across it, like I mentioned before. I mean, we were a mess. And you know what? I think we loved it. We really did. And I think we loved it because it was ours. Nobody taught us how to do it. There was no template that, mattered. It was just millions of regular people figuring out how to exist online for the very first time and making it completely weird, which that saying that alone makes it perfect. The internet has gotten faster and better, by the way, and more powerful in every technical sense. It has never been more fun than it was back then, though. Okay? It has never been more fun than it was then. Okay? I will 100% stand on that. Because it was just new and interesting. And we were trying to figure things out. And I think that's what I loved about it. That's what I loved about the internet back then. But let's jump into our first segment here of the show, the Did You Know segment. And let's talk about 3 facts about the early internet that are going to completely reframe things you thought you already knew. And I'd like to start out with this very first one here. And let's talk about the You Got Mail voice. Everyone knows that. I mean, they even made a movie about it. One of the most recognized audio recordings in human history was recorded by a man named Elwood Edwards into a cassette recorder in his living room in 1989. Now, his wife, Karen, worked at the company that was about to become America Online. She heard they needed a voice for the software and voluntold her husband. Now, Elwood recorded 4 phrases: welcome, you've got mail, files done, and goodbye, and was paid $200. That voice was heard billions of times. And as I mentioned before, Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan made a movie named after his line that grossed over $250 million worldwide. Elwood Edwards made $200 in his living room on a damn cassette recorder in 1989. By all accounts, he was completely gracious about it his whole life. In his later years, he drove a cab and would say the lines for delighted passengers who recognized him. $200 for the sound that the entire America Online audience heard for a long time. Number 2, Napster. If you don't know what I'm talking about, God, you're just way too young. Napster, the software that let anyone share music for free with anyone else on the internet, was built by an 18-year-old college student named Sean Fanning in his dorm room. We were inventing things back then. June 1999, Napster goes live. Within 2 years, it had 80 million users. College campuses had to ban it because Napster traffic alone was consuming the majority of their entire internet bandwidth. Entire universities brought to their knees by students pirating music. Metallica found an unreleased song of theirs on Napster and immediately sued. The music industry sued. The courts ruled against Napster, and then it shut down in July of 2001, but it was already too late. The idea was out. The box was open. You couldn't put it back. iTunes launched in 2003. Spotify came shortly thereafter. Every single way you listen to music right now, streaming, playlists, digital downloads, it all traces back to one 18-year-old writing code in a dorm back in 1999. The music industry won the lawsuit, but Sean Fanning, boy, he won the future. Let's talk about number 3 here, ICQ. The other instant messenger, the one with the little green flower and the iconic notification sound, was built by 4 people in 1996. And within 2 years, it had tens of millions of users and was sold to AOL for over $400 million. But the part that I love most about ICQ, the part I think perfectly captures what the early internet actually was, is the name. Because ICQ isn't an acronym, it's a pun. Okay? Say the letters out loud fast. I seek you. I seek you. I seek you. I seek you. 4 guys named their software I Seek You. And millions of people around the world used it to do exactly that, to seek each other across the damn planet for the first time. The early internet, I think, was just poetry in motion, man. We just didn't notice it because we were 12 years old? It's crazy. What I wouldn't do to go back just once and walk around and live life for one day for 24 hours. I'd probably, I don't know what I would do. What would you do? What would you do if you had 24 hours to go back to when the time that you were 10 to 15 years old, right? And you lived through the 90s. What is that specific year for you? I'd like to know. Tell me in the comments because that's it's a hard thing, man, to think about going back in time and pretty much trying to figure out what you would do, how you would do, who you would talk to, who would you go see first. It's a big one, man. I could do a whole episode on that alone. Might as well just write that down. I think that's pretty good. But before we get into that, or should I say, I'm gonna pocket that one. Let's talk about this top 5 list here. The top 5 early internet experiences that pretty much almost every 90s kid had and will probably never forget. Okay. This is the new segment. We're going to move on with it. And I'm adding this permanently because I think this show needed it. And honestly, I've been wanting to do a top list of some kind. Every episode at the end, we're going to do this top 5 list. The most fun, most nostalgic, most debatable top 5 related to whatever we just talked about. I give you my list. You give me yours in the comments. And today's list, again, is the top 5 early internet experiences. I already mentioned that. Let's get to it. Let's count down. Number 5, accidentally closing a window you'd been working on for 45 minutes because you were in AOL and you clicked the wrong X and losing all of it because there was no autosave, no recovery, no are you sure you want to close this pop-up. Things were just gone, and the specific feeling that happened in your body in that moment, something between rage and the goddamn 5 stages of grief all simultaneously. Specifically, if you were working on something with HTML live, you just sat there staring at the goddamn empty screen, trying to process what the hell just happened. And then you either started over or you decided the thing wasn't worth freaking writing in the first place, and you closed the computer and you just whatever. Turned on the video game, maybe went outside. The early internet built freaking character, whether you wanted it or not. Okay. Number 5, losing your work to a wrong click. Number 4, downloading one song on Napster and it taking 45 minutes. 45 minutes for one song, and you had to sit there watching the progress bar, trying to will it forward, not touching anything else, because what if touching something else somehow affected the download, not even the mouse. I remember I would put the mouse at the end of like or should I say where the bar was at on the download window, and I would just put it there right on the edge and see how long it would take for that bar to surpass the mouse, and just be like, why isn't this moving any faster? You know? Just trying to figure it out. And you wouldn't touch anything because, again, if you did, if it messed it up, but you weren't going to risk it. So you just sat there watching the damn bar move across the screen for 45 minutes. And then a minute 43, someone picked up the goddamn phone. The modem dropped, the download died, the song was freaking gone. But what did you do? You went back and started over. After a couple years, though, I think Napster built in this like, hey, you disconnected. You want to start off where you left off bar? But that was later on. And here's the wild thing. A lot of people just didn't quit. If you didn't have that feature yet, you started to download again because it was free and you wanted that damn song. And 45 minutes was the price for free music in 1999. We had patience back then. We didn't know it, but we actually had it. Number 4, the Napster download that took forever and still got killed by the freaking phone. Let's go to number 3 right now. The away message that wasn't for everyone. You know what I mean? The away message that was precisely written for one person on your damn buddy list. Maybe it was a song lyric. Maybe it was a quote. Maybe it was something that only made sense if you knew what happened at school today. And that one person definitely knew. The rest of the buddy list was confused as all hell. But that was fine. That was actually the point. The message wasn't freaking for them. You were having a private conversation in front of everyone. You were sending a signal that only one person had the frequency for. And then you'd wait to see if they would message you. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. Both outcomes were a whole thing, though. And then the next day at school, nothing was said about it directly, and somehow that was its own answer. That's how it just left off. The away message was emotional, an emotional strategy, right? Nobody taught us that. We invented it ourselves. At what, 14 years old, emotionally sophisticated in ways we probably didn't even know yet. So number 3, the away message that was definitely about someone or something that happened. Let's go to number 2, someone in the chat room claiming to be something they were almost certainly not. All right. 19, male, New Jersey. You just accepted it because what else were you going to do? There was no verification, no profile pictures that meant anything. No way to confirm anything. Someone said they were 19 who played basketball in Florida State or whatever. You just took that for face value and a whole conversation about your favorite teams. Was it true? Who knows? Probably not. Maybe. The thing is, till today, we don't know. And somewhere out there right now is someone who spent hours on AOL chat rooms in 1997 presenting an entirely fictional version of themselves to strangers. That isn't scary. And some of those strangers are now adults who would be very interested in having that conversation again. Maybe. Not sure. But the early internet was a masquerade ball that we all walked into without fully understanding that everyone was pretty much wearing a mask, including sometimes even us. So number 2, the chat room persona that was definitely not what it claimed to be. But we finally made it to number 1. And number 1, the specific total body level panic of being on the internet when you weren't supposed to be, specifically when you heard a parent or a sibling, anyone, start walking toward the computer room because you had one job in the whole house. Don't tie up the phone line or be done by 9 or whatever the rule was at your house. I don't know. And you had broken the rule knowingly with full awareness because there was something happening online that was more important than the rule. I remember being online in school a lot, by the way, before I get to the end of this. And being on NFL chat rooms and talking about back then the Packers had just won when I was in high school, the 96-97 season. And we were just talking trash to each other all the time. That was always fun. But let's get back into this, right? You're in the goddamn computer room when you're not supposed to. You can hear the goddamn footsteps heading towards the room, and you had to make a decision in about 2 seconds. Do you either sign off now, which makes the modem screech, and the screeching is freaking loud and will absolutely be heard, or pretend you're not on the internet, even though the monitor glow is visible under the door, and the modem sound already gave everything away. There was absolutely no good option back then. But you signed off anyway. The modem screamed. You closed the AOL window. You opened some other thing, whether it was your homework that you were trying to type out or playing solitaire, something that looked innocent, and you turned around with the expression of someone who was definitely not just on the internet for the last 2 hours. Nobody believed the expression, by the way. Not once. In the history of the 90s, did anyone really believe any expression from a kid who was locked up in a room with a computer for hours? But we still made that specific, I'm not doing anything face. So number 1 was the getting caught online moment that every single one of us had at least 4 times happened to us, or maybe more, depending on what was happening in your house. But that is my top 5. I want to hear yours. Drop your list in the comments. What's your number 1? What early internet experience do you think I missed? What should have made the list that I didn't add on to it? I'd love to read your thoughts and your answers, You know what I did not forget about, though? I did not forget about the feeling of being online for the first time. that still lives in me. Whether it was AOL, whether we were using Bell Atlantic back in the day. I lived in the Northeast in Jersey, so we had Bell Atlantic, and Bell Atlantic would offer us their like 80 hours a week or something like that for like $5. It was cool. That was cool. The internet back then, that whole lifestyle, the way we just like search for things online using Excite, Yahoo, getting scores, looking at the weather, opening up your first email with whatever company you did. That is a feeling that will never be replicated. And I'll tell you why. It's because we are nostalgic for it because it was a great simplistic moment. And we're living in a time where there's not a lot of many first times you're doing something, right? Because even now you might buy a new phone or something, or you'll download a new app or whatever, a new streaming service comes out. But those are things that are being built or were built on something that we had already experienced. It's just another version of it, as opposed to that time in the 90s when we first went online. And that's a feeling nothing can replicate. And that's what the show's all about, is finding those feelings, going back and thinking about the things that we did when we were younger and how it made us feel. So I'm hoping right now I'm, bringing something back that you can think of that makes you happy. A memory of being online, a memory of sharing a moment with your parents or your friends online, uploading your pictures for the first time onto a website that you just created. Maybe you had like a school play and you created a school play website. I'm not talking about me because I was in a play called You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and I played Schroeder. No, none of that. Yes, I did create a website for my spring play, and I thought I was a genius for it. But anyway, that was episode 7. And look, I want to say one real thing before I let you guys go. This stuff here, when I write these episodes and look back at them and think about the things that I want to talk about and express, it reminds me of such a fun time, such a good time. The nostalgia is real. But most importantly, it reminds me of how simple things were and how crazy things are now. And I hope that somehow I made you also think about the simplicity of life, and where we were at. And that it took 45 minutes to download a song from Napster or a virus. That stuff is incredible. But underneath all of it, man, those real things were happening for us in those years. In 1 decade, by the way, humanity went from a world where you could only connect with the people near you, your block, your school, your town, to a world where a kid could find someone on the other side of the planet who liked exactly what you liked, who got it, who got them for the first time ever. And we were the generation that figured out how to be human online with literally no instructions, no training, no here's how to have a relationship on the internet. We just walked in and started figuring it out with our chaos screen names and our song lyric away messages and our hideous GeoCity pages and our freaking weird music playing without a stop or pause button or way to make people freaking mute the music that was playing in the background. Every platform, every way people connected pretty much was invented in its first rough version by 90s kids just making it up as they went. But that's worth remembering. We were the originals. Hey, 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. If this episode unlocked something, if you heard that modem sound and went somewhere for a second, go leave that review right now. 30 seconds. It genuinely matters. And drop your top 5 in the comments. I want to read them. Seriously, genuinely, I promise. Share this one with whomever was on your buddy list back then. The person you talked to until 1 a.m. on a school night with the monitor brightness turned all the way down so your parents wouldn't see the damn glow of the freaking giant boob tube monitor. Send it to them. Just message them. Be like, hey, remember this? You're going to keep it simple. You're going to just go with a simple hey. Okay? That's it. No 6 rewrites. Just hey and send it. But hey, next week we're going to go back outside, back to the weekend, to the Friday afternoon tradition that was arguably the most important institution of the 90s childhood. We're going to talk about the Blockbuster trip. Okay, walking every aisle, reading the backs of boxes for 20 minutes, the argument about who or what to get, the specific joy of finding that one movie or video game that had been checked out every other time, the Sunday return deadline that hung over you the whole entire weekend, and the behind-the-scenes story of how Blockbuster went from the greatest entertainment business in America to what happened, right? Including the moment they had a chance to buy a little DVD by mail company called Netflix for $45 million, and they still said no. So come back next Saturday. We'll be here. I'm Alex, and as always, in case I missed it, the 90s were better. See you next Saturday.